There's something about standing on a bridge early in the morning, just as the light begins to stretch over the horizon. The air is still. The sky hasn't made up its mind if it wants to be gold or gray. You hear the soft hum of traffic in the distance, but where you are, it's just you and the in-between. Not quite where you came from, not yet where you're going. That's what life feels like when you begin to wake up to eternity. Like a bridge, beautiful, temporary, suspended between two very different realities. And yet, so many of us try to build permanent houses on this bridge. We decorate it with applause, obsess over the size of our possessions, chase the wind of other people's approval, and call that living. But eventually, something inside us stirs, not out of fear, not out of loss, just a quiet, aching awareness that this place isn't home, that there must be something more, something deeper. That eternity is not some far-off dream. It's the true direction we're meant to live toward. To live for eternity isn't about disconnecting from the present. It's about living with deeper purpose inside of it. It's about lifting your vision from the fog of temporary things and setting your eyes on what cannot be taken, what does not decay, what holds weight beyond time. Living for eternity doesn't make you smaller or stranger or slower. It makes you clearer, stronger, bolder. It frees you from the endless pressure to prove yourself. And it gently calls you to become someone that not even death can erase. As C.S. Lewis once said, aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you will get neither. And Peter Kreeft echoed the truth behind that when he wrote, "You were made for eternity. Nothing less will ever satisfy you." So if your soul feels restless lately, if your ambition feels hollow, if your strength is running thin, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your spirit is craving something lasting, this message is for you. Not to condemn your pace, not to shame your struggle, but to remind you of who you are and where you're going. Let's lift your eyes higher. Let's live for eternity. You are not just a body with a soul. You are a soul with a destiny. There's a lie that has shaped much of the modern world, and many of us live by it without even realizing it. The lie says that you are what you produce, that your value is measured in income, image, influence, or utility, that your body is your identity and your soul is something you deal with only in silence or in suffering. But the truth is much older than any modern metric. You are not just a body that happens to have a soul. You are a soul that happens to have a body. You are not here by accident, and you are not here forever. You were placed here by the hand of God for a time, for a purpose, for eternity. If you could remember this first thing in the morning, how differently might you live? What choices would suddenly feel lighter and which ones heavier? What distractions would lose their power over you? What fears would finally loosen their grip? Because your soul isn't temporary, your calling isn't transactional, and your worth isn't up for debate. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus reminds us of this eternal lens when he says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven." It's not a call to asceticism. It's not about abandoning the world. It's about investing in something that will outlast it. Saint Irenaeus once said something that echoes with the weight of eternity. The glory of God is man fully alive. Not man fully wealthy, not man fully popular, not even man fully comfortable, but fully alive. And to be fully alive is to know what you're living for and where you're going after all of this. So what does it mean to live like a soul with a destiny? It means waking up each morning and remembering that your work, your decisions, your thoughts, your words, all of them echo into eternity. It means refusing to reduce yourself to labels, stats, or likes. It means living with reverence for your own existence and for the souls around you. Think about how the world treats time. Time is money, we say. Time is a race, a countdown, a threat. But eternity teaches us to see time as sacred. Each moment becomes a doorway into deeper meaning. Each choice becomes an offering. Each breath becomes a gift. Living for eternity doesn't mean walking around solemnly or abandoning the joy of daily life. On the contrary, it means embracing each day with more joy, because you know it's not the end of your story. You can laugh deeper, because your peace isn't based on circumstances. You can let go of resentment quicker, because you know forgiveness builds something eternal. You can say no to things that glitter but don't matter. And you can say yes to things that might be hard but hold real weight. Living for eternity doesn't make you naive. It makes you grounded. It roots you in the truth that cannot be shaken. And that truth is this: you were created by God, called by name, and destined for a life that doesn't end at death. It begins at death. We spend so much of our time trying to make a life that we forget we've already been given one. What matters is what you do with it. You were never meant to simply survive your way through life. You were meant to live it in a way that reflects God's beauty, honors His truth, and prepares your soul for forever. And even if you've wandered, even if you've wasted years, even if you've lost your way, eternity hasn't been erased from you. The invitation still stands. The door is still open. The grace is still enough. So live like your soul is the most valuable thing you carry, because it is. And live as if what you do now will matter 1,000 years from now, because it will. We'll pause this first part here because that's the foundation. You are not disposable. You are eternal, and you were never meant to live with your head down, buried in shame or fear or comparison. You were meant to look up, to live forward, to live for eternity.
Eternity makes the pain worth it. There's something sacred about pain that doesn't make sense right away. The kind of pain that knocks on your door when you least expect it. The kind that doesn't come with an explanation or a deadline. The pain of loss, the pain of waiting, the pain of being misunderstood, of trying your best and still coming up short. And if you've walked through seasons like that, and I suspect you have, then you've probably asked the question we all eventually ask in the dark: what's the point of all this if it just hurts? That question isn't a sign of weak faith. It's a sign that your soul's alive, that you were made for meaning, and that your heart, deep down, already suspects that suffering must somehow be a doorway, not just a dead end. Scripture doesn't deny the reality of suffering. It never sugarcoats grief or pretends that faithful people will avoid hard things. But it does something more courageous than denial. It redeems pain. It reframes it. It places it in the light of eternity and says, even this will not be wasted. Romans 8:18 offers one of the most powerful promises ever spoken into a storm. Our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Paul didn't write those words from a place of comfort. He wrote them from prison, from wounds, from shipwrecks and betrayals and loneliness. He knew what it meant to cry out for deliverance and be told simply, "My grace is sufficient for you." So if you're standing in a hallway that hasn't opened, if you're carrying the weight of a battle no one else sees, hear this. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. God wastes nothing, not even your tears. It reminds me of something St. John of the Cross once wrote. The soul that walks in love neither tires others nor grows tired. And what is love if not the willingness to carry something heavy for the sake of something holy? Let me share a story with you, a real one, from a life that burned bright even when the body faded. His name was Yannick, 26 years old, born and raised in Lyon, France. He was a vibrant, funny, wildly generous young man who loved music and teaching kids how to play the piano. Life was opening up for him. He had just been offered a job in Paris at a private music conservatory. And then everything shifted. A routine checkup turned into a biopsy. That turned into scans. That turned into a diagnosis. Stage 4 metastatic cancer. It had spread fast. The world would expect someone like Yannick to retreat, to rage, to shut down. And he did for a little while. But something unexpected happened in his heart. He began to see time differently, not as something being taken from him, but as something being given to him with great care. He turned down the job. Instead, he moved into the pediatric oncology unit at a local hospital, not as a patient, but as a volunteer. With a soft hat covering his thinning hair and a portable keyboard in his lap, he would go room to room playing lullabies, hymns, and old jazz tunes for kids who were fighting their own mountains. He once told a nurse, "If I'm going to die, I want to die teaching people how to live." That same nurse later said, "I watched him bring joy into rooms where even hope didn't want to go." Yannick passed away 14 months later. But in his final weeks, he wrote a note to his parents and asked that it be read at his funeral. It said, "Don't cry for the time I lost. Thank God for what he gave me time to become. I didn't die unfinished. I just finished early." That is what it means to suffer with eternity in view. Pain with purpose is no longer just pain. It becomes an offering, a seed, a path into a kind of beauty that the world cannot fake. I'm not saying this to make light of your pain. I know it's real. I know it stretches long and deep. I'm saying this so you know your pain doesn't have the final word. What the world calls failure, heaven often calls faithfulness. What feels like waiting might be God weaving. And what looks like loss may be the very thing God uses to birth eternal strength in you. Jesus himself did not walk around suffering free. He wept. He sweat blood. He was abandoned by friends, misunderstood by crowds, tortured by strangers. He felt the silence of unanswered prayers. And he did all of it with eternity in mind, not just to reach heaven, but to bring heaven close to us. So when you suffer, you are not walking away from God's plan. You may be walking right into it. Sometimes the most holy people are the ones who keep showing up when everything hurts. The ones who sing even when their voice cracks. The ones who love when it doesn't get returned. The ones who choose to trust when there's nothing left to hold on to but grace itself. And yes, sometimes the world won't notice what you're doing. That's okay. Eternity will. You might be walking through something no one else sees, but eternity sees. God sees. And the things done in secret, the prayers said in the dark, the forgiveness offered without applause, the faith held through tears, those are the things that echo forever. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to shine with a quiet light, it's not because they've never bled. It's because they chose not to let bitterness be their legacy. It's not your perfection that prepares you for eternity. It's your perseverance. So whatever you're carrying today, carry it with this truth. Heaven is not ignoring your effort. It's cheering for it. Let me say that again for the one who needs it most. Heaven is not ignoring your effort. It's cheering for it. There's a crown of glory being woven with your name on it, and no amount of pain can take that from you. Sometimes we think of eternal life as something that starts after we die. But Jesus said, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. That fullness starts now, even in the waiting, even in the wounds, because eternity isn't just a place, it's a person. And when you walk with Christ, you begin to taste forever, even in your most fragile days. Yannick's life wasn't measured in years. It was measured in eternal impact. And yours can be too. So don't curse the pain. Let it teach you. Let it deepen you. Let it drive your roots into the only soil that holds when the storm hits. Let it form something in you that comfort never could. Your scars may never be seen by the world, but in heaven, they will shine like diamonds. Because pain, when offered to God, becomes glory. Because eternity makes the pain worth it. And because your story isn't finished, it's being refined.
What you build in secret will shine in eternity. There's something incredibly sacred about what happens when no one's watching. The way a mother closes her eyes in prayer at the kitchen sink after a long day, whispering words no one hears. The way a young man shows up for work every day at a job that doesn't make headlines, but he does it with integrity anyway. The way a teenager leaves encouraging notes in her classmates' lockers, even when no one leaves one for her. These are the kinds of moments the world rarely sees, but heaven never misses. We live in a time obsessed with visibility. If it wasn't posted, did it happen? If it wasn't praised, did it matter? If it wasn't acknowledged, was it enough? And yet the most eternal things are often the ones done in quiet, with no spotlight and no applause. The kingdom of God isn't built on performances. It's built on faithfulness. Jesus said it best in Matthew 6:6. When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. That verse doesn't just apply to prayer. It speaks to the deeper truth that God values what we do when no one else is looking. What you build in secret matters more than what you display in public. Because eternity sees differently. You don't have to be famous to be faithful. You don't have to be visible to be valuable. And you don't have to be celebrated to be seen. There's a woman named Mireille who understands this in a way that changed a town. She lives in a small village near Ruhengeri, Rwanda. She's 39 years old. She works as a janitor for a modest Catholic church nestled between banana trees and dirt roads. No one outside her community knows her name. She doesn't preach. She doesn't post. She doesn't lead a ministry or have an online platform. But every morning before the sun rises, she arrives at the church, opens the doors, and begins to clean. She wipes every pew with care, straightens every kneeler, lights a candle near the altar, and then, one by one, she prays over every single row. She doesn't do it for praise. She does it because she believes that prayer prepares hearts, even hearts she will never meet. One morning, a homeless man wandered into the church. He sat down quietly near the back, exhausted and broken. Something about the room felt different. It was like someone had already welcomed me, he said later. That man returned the next day, then the next. Eventually, he began to volunteer and later was baptized. When asked what drew him in, he didn't point to the sermons. He said, I felt prayed for before I ever said a word. He didn't know Mireille's name, but eternity does. In the eyes of the world, Mireille is invisible. But in the eyes of God, she is building something eternal, one whispered prayer at a time. We forget sometimes that our quiet obedience can change the atmosphere, that our consistency can create space for miracles, that the greatest spiritual legacies are often written in private, handwritten in the hidden corners of ordinary life. Bob Goff once said something so simple, yet so piercing. Success isn't always about applause. Sometimes it's just about obedience. That truth may not get you trending online, but it will get your name remembered in heaven. Maybe you've been faithful in places no one clapped for. Maybe you've kept going when everyone else walked away. Maybe you've loved people who never thanked you. Maybe you've sown seeds into people who forgot your name. That doesn't make you foolish. It makes you free, because you didn't do it for recognition. You did it for love. You didn't do it to be remembered here. You did it because you're already known there. And here's what I want you to know. Everything you do in love, even if it's hidden, is building something real, something lasting, something that eternity is shaping into glory. When you wake up early to read Scripture, even though your eyes are heavy, that builds your soul. When you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, even though no one will ever know, that heals generations. When you show up with kindness in an unkind world, that pushes back the darkness. When you bless someone who can never repay you, that reflects the heart of Christ. Don't ever underestimate the power of a single hidden act done in love, because heaven doesn't measure value the way earth does. God doesn't scroll through your highlights. He watches your heart. And He doesn't just watch it, He rewards it. Sometimes we chase applause because it gives us a momentary high, but applause fades. Approval shifts, and trying to keep everyone happy is the fastest way to lose your own peace. But obedience, that stays, that builds, that matters. Even if no one else sees it, God does. Your quiet work isn't wasted. Your late night prayers aren't forgotten. Your silent battles aren't ignored. The long roads you've walked in faith, with tears in your eyes and hope in your chest, that's the stuff heaven is made of. You're not weak for walking alone. You're strong because you're walking in the truth. The world teaches us to market everything, monetize it, capture it, post it. And while sharing your story has its place, there's also a holiness in what you keep just between you and God. Holiness has always been built in secret, in caves, in deserts, and upper rooms. Jesus didn't launch His ministry with a parade. He started in a manger in silence, in surrender, 30 hidden years before 3 public ones. That alone tells you something. The private seasons matter. So if you feel unseen, unnoticed, overlooked, maybe you're exactly where transformation happens. Because the furnace of the hidden life is where diamonds are formed. Maybe you've been faithful in prayer and the answers haven't come yet. Maybe you've been faithful in your marriage and things still feel dry. Maybe you've been serving others and no one has thanked you. Don't give up. Don't water down your faith just because you haven't seen results yet. God sees in seasons. We live in minutes. And He's never in a rush to build something that's meant to last forever. One of the greatest deceptions is thinking that nothing is happening just because nothing is visible. But roots grow underground long before fruit appears. The deeper the root, the longer it takes. And the stronger the storm, the more grateful you'll be for the unseen foundation you built when no one was watching. Your character is more valuable than your clout. Your secret obedience is more powerful than your platform. Your hidden faithfulness is preparing you for a crown you haven't seen yet. In the Beatitudes, Jesus says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." That's not about public morality. That's about the inner life. The choices made when no one else is around. The purity that lives when the doors are closed and the cameras are off. You don't need to go viral to live a life that echoes in eternity. You just need to be faithful, to be honest, to be brave enough to do the right thing when no one is clapping. Because God doesn't miss a thing, not a sigh, not a surrender, not a prayer, not a step. He's not counting your followers. He's counting your faithfulness. So here's what I want you to carry today. What you build in secret will shine in eternity. It may not show up on the news. It may not get you recognition, but it will get you something far better. Reward from the one who sees all. There is no such thing as a wasted effort done in love. No such thing as a pointless act of obedience. No such thing as a forgotten seed sown in silence. And when the day comes and the veil lifts and the temporary gives way to the eternal, you'll see just how much those hidden choices mattered. So keep praying when it's quiet. Keep loving when it's hard. Keep sowing when it's slow. Keep trusting when it's lonely. Because one day, what no one saw will be revealed in full glory. And on that day, you'll hear the words every soul longs to hear. Well done, good and faithful servant.
Eternity is not later. It starts with the choices you make today. There's a quiet temptation that creeps into the soul when life feels uncertain. The lie that says you can wait to become who God is calling you to be. That somehow holiness is for later. That eternity starts after your last breath, not your next step. That now is just a waiting room, and maybe one day, when things are better, clearer, more convenient, you'll finally be ready to live with purpose. But here's the truth. Eternity doesn't begin when you die. It begins when you decide to live with heaven in mind. When you choose what's lasting over what's easy, when you stop stalling your soul and start stepping into the life God already whispered into your spirit. There's no need to delay the person you're becoming. Every single moment is a brick in the road to forever. Every thought, every word, every choice, it all matters. You are shaping your eternity with the way you live your today. It's what Paul meant when he wrote to the Corinthians. Now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. Not next year. Not when your schedule calms down. Not once you feel qualified or confident or clean enough. Now, this breath, this day. But that's hard to hold on to when your today feels ordinary or uncertain. When you're not sure if your small efforts matter, when your quiet obedience looks like it's going unnoticed, when you think the big life you're meant to live is still waiting somewhere far away, but what if it isn't? What if eternity has already started showing up in how you love your family, how you forgive that person who hurt you, how you resist gossip at work, how you choose honesty when it's inconvenient, how you keep returning to prayer even when it feels dry. Those choices are not small, they are eternal. Because every single time you choose the right thing over the easy thing, you are building something that will outlast time itself. Let me tell you about someone who wrestled with this truth, because sometimes we need real stories to remind us that real people are walking this road too. His name is Samuel. He's 22, lives in the outer suburbs of Nairobi, Kenya. Grew up in a home that was both warm and hard. His mother raised him on faith, but the world raised him on speed. He learned quickly how to move fast, make money, keep up appearances. He got into crypto, then into riskier online trading, chasing that promise that if he just clicked the right thing, he'd be set for life. At one point, he was making more money in a day than his mother made in a month, but it didn't bring peace. It brought adrenaline, then anxiety, then an emptiness he couldn't name. One Sunday, his mother asked him to come to Mass. He rolled his eyes. He hadn't been in years, but for some reason, he went, sat in the back, avoided eye contact until the priest read a passage from the gospel, of Luke about the seed that falls on different soils. The seed that falls among thorns is the one who hears, but as they go on their way, they are choked by life's worries, riches, and pleasures, and they do not mature. Those words didn't just hit him, they haunted him. He realized he'd been planting his soul in thorns, living for short-term gain, while starving his spirit of what it really needed. That night, he deleted every app he had that made him chase money like a god. He started small, set his alarm 20 minutes earlier, began reading one psalm each morning, took a local job tutoring teens in math, and quietly started leading them through Proverbs during lunch breaks. "It's not flashy," he said, "but it's the first time I feel like I'm living for more than myself." When I asked him how he stays faithful now, he said, "Because I finally understood. Eternity isn't later, it's now. And I want to build something with God before I meet Him." That's the kind of awareness that changes a life. And here's the good news. It's not just for Samuel, it's for you right now. You don't need a platform to begin. You don't need a fresh start on the calendar. You don't need to feel worthy. You just need to say yes to today, because every decision is a seed. Every action is a signal. Every day is a chance to either drift from eternity or draw closer to it. Annie Dillard once wrote, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives." And that's not just a poetic line. It's a theological one. Because God isn't asking you to be a saint overnight. He's asking you to give Him today, and then tomorrow, and then the next. That's how eternity begins, not in a lightning strike, but in 1,000 daily choices to say, "Not my will, but yours." What does that look like in your life? It might mean turning down a promotion that compromises your integrity, or walking away from a relationship that dulls your faith. It might mean apologizing even though you weren't entirely wrong, or praying when your mind is racing, or giving generously when no one will notice. Those aren't just acts of obedience. They're acts of eternal rebellion against a world obsessed with the temporary. Living for eternity means resisting the pressure to perform and instead choosing to transform. It means asking better questions, not "what can I gain?" but "what can I give?" Not "how will this make me look?" but "how will this shape my soul?" Not "will this bring attention?" but "will this bring fruit?" And that kind of living starts where you are, not where you wish you were. Right in the middle of your ordinary, right in the heart of your messy, right in the reality of your commute, your dishes, your inbox, your toddler's tantrum, your unpaid bills. You don't need perfect conditions to start living with heaven in view. You just need honest surrender. Because eternity isn't built in grand gestures, it's built in daily ones. So don't wait to forgive. Don't wait to speak life. Don't wait to serve. Don't wait to return to God. Don't wait to open your Bible again. Don't wait to love your neighbor. Don't wait to become generous. Don't wait to begin the life your soul was made for. The enemy of your soul would love for you to believe that tomorrow is when everything starts, but the Spirit of God is whispering something better. Today, right here. Begin again. You were made to carry eternity inside of you. And that means today matters infinitely. It means how you treat people when you're tired matters. How you handle disappointment matters. How you talk to the grocery clerk matters. How you pray when you feel dry matters. How you respond to temptation, to failure, to boredom. It all matters. Because you are not just passing time, you are preparing your soul. This is where heaven begins. And one day, when you stand before God, you won't look back and regret that you prayed more than you worked, or that you loved more than you won, or that you chose peace over being right. You'll only regret the days you thought didn't matter. So live today like it's the foundation of forever, because it is. And if you stumble, because we all do, don't run from God. Run to Him, because mercy is immediate. And grace isn't reserved for when you finally get it together. Grace is for today, for the messy middle, for the middle-aged dad holding on to faith by a thread, for the single mom choosing hope again, for the student trying to stay anchored in a chaotic world, for the lonely heart that wonders if God is still near. He is. Right now, eternity has already begun, and you're already a part of it, so step into it. One small act of faith at a time, because the kingdom is built moment by moment, and heaven is paying attention, not just to the day you die, but to the way you live now. Only what is eternal will truly last. There is a strange kind of grief that comes when the things you once counted on begin to fall away. The career you built starts to shift. The relationships you trusted begin to change. The body you once felt at home in no longer feels like it listens. The plans you made no longer unfold the way you expected. And in that unraveling, there's a temptation to panic, to fight harder, to cling to the temporary like it's the only raft left. But eventually, through the quiet ache, you begin to hear something deeper, an invitation. Not to escape life, but to see it differently. Not to hold tighter to what won't last, but to begin building your life on what cannot be taken. That's the heart of this final truth. Only what is eternal will truly last. Everything else fades. Everything else, fame, looks, wealth, approval, applause, passes like smoke in the wind. And yet, we spend so much of our energy trying to grip it all with white-knuckle desperation. We chase what everyone else is chasing, only to feel hollow once we catch it. The cars rust. The followers move on. The promotions get replaced. The thrill wears off. And we're left wondering why it still doesn't feel like enough. But it never was supposed to. Because your soul wasn't made for temporary things. Jesus said it clearly in Matthew 24:35, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away." And those words weren't poetic, they were prophetic. They were a call to stop anchoring yourself to a world that is passing and start investing in what will remain. St. Augustine captured this tension of longing so beautifully when he said, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." That restlessness isn't something to fear. It's something to follow. It's a compass pointing you home. We were never meant to build our identity on what we can lose, but so many of us do. We wrap our worth around what we own, or how we look, or who notices us. And then when it disappears, we think we're failing. But what if we're not failing? What if we're being freed? Freed to live differently, to love deeper, to shift our focus from things that perish to things that endure, from momentary applause to eternal reward. Let me share one last story, one that lives quietly but lingers long. Her name is Margit. She's 88 years old and lives in a small town outside Budapest, Hungary. She never had a large platform or a famous name. She was a school teacher for over 4 decades, raised 3 children, and buried 1. Her husband died when she was 52. She never remarried. Margit now lives in a care home with a view of the Danube River. Every day she sits by the window with a worn-out rosary and a cracked leather Bible. She doesn't speak much anymore, but one of the caregivers once asked her a simple question. If you could go back to your youth, what would you do differently? Margit smiled slowly. Her eyes, a soft silver, welled up with tears, not of regret, but of clarity. "I would love more," she said, "and fear less. I would keep less for myself and give more to God. I would worry less about being seen and more about seeing others. I would hold my children longer and hold my grudges shorter. I would plant more kindness in people's hearts, even if I never saw it bloom." Then she leaned forward and added, "The only things that mattered were the ones I gave away." And there it is, truth in its purest form. The only things that last are the ones rooted in love. Because love is the only currency that crosses the threshold of eternity, not achievement, not reputation, not appearance, but love. So what will you build your life on? Will it be on recognition or on redemption? Will it be on applause or on obedience? Will it be on temporary gains or on eternal glory? Because the storm will come, the ground will shake, the winds will blow, and when they do, only what was built on the rock will stand. Everything else, no matter how shiny, will fall. But here's the beautiful part. It's never too late to begin again. Never too late to realign your heart. Never too late to return to what matters. Never too late to build something that will last beyond this lifetime. Because every act of love you offer, every moment of truth you live, every seed of grace you sow, it will outlive you. And when the day comes, when you finally step beyond time into the arms of eternity, none of the world's metrics will matter. Not your title, not your net worth, not your likes or your looks, only your love, only your faith, only your soul. So let go of what was never meant to last. Release the pressure to impress. Let the world chase its shadow prizes, and you chase the light. Because you were not made to collect things that rot. You were made to carry things that rise. You were made for faith, for goodness, for mercy, for justice, for beauty, for sacrifice, for truth, for joy, for peace. You were made for heaven. And heaven begins here, in this moment, in this ordinary life, in this eternal yes. So say yes. Say yes to building what lasts. Say yes to living for what matters. Say yes to becoming someone who walks through the world quietly, courageously, lovingly, with eternity in your eyes. Because when all is stripped away, what remains is what was real. And if you've lived for eternity, there will be nothing to fear, only joy, only peace, only love. And if no one has told you lately, let me tell you now, your life is not small. Your hidden faithfulness is not forgotten. Your soul is not late, not lost, not unloved. You are being shaped for forever, even here, even now. So live today like it echoes into eternity, because it does. One day, when you step into that final light, you'll see just how much your daily yes mattered. You'll see the lives you touched without knowing. The moments that became miracles, the silent prayers that saved someone else's story, the small seeds that bloomed into eternal fruit. You'll see that it was never about being impressive. It was always about being faithful, and you were. So lift your eyes, live for more, live for eternity.